Hey, glad you're still here. I have a little story for you, or for whoever is listening. Apologies for the lack of content. I just really haven't had it in me to do anything. This story was finished weeks ago, but I hope someone enjoys it. The first time Dr. Alara Vance saw the car, it was nothing more than a relic. It sat beneath a canvas tarp in the back of an abandoned mall outside Hill Valley, its steel body faintly reflecting the skeletal remains of escalators and dust-choked skylights. The mall's sign still clung to its rusted frame, Twin Pines Plaza. The irony was not lost on her. "It's just stainless steel and ego," Alara muttered, pulling the tarp free. Beside her stood Iris Caldwell, 17 years old, all nerves and bright questions. She had the same breathless curiosity that once propelled reckless young men into history books or into obituaries. Her hair was pulled back with a red bandana she insisted was period appropriate. For what period? Alara never quite knew. The car was unmistakable: gull-wing doors, vents like metallic gills, and a jury-rigged array of cables running to a crystalline housing mounted behind the seats. A replica, technically, inspired by the legend of a similar machine once rumored to have bent time in this very town. Alara did not believe in rumors. She believed in mathematics. Flux density calibrating, she said, adjusting the dial on the console she'd rebuilt from scavenged particle accelerators and a fusion prototype that had never passed inspection. If the theory holds, we'll create a closed time-like curve, a loop, just a few minutes back. Iris grinned, like stepping on a crack in the sidewalk and landing behind herself. "More or less," Alara replied, "except if I'm wrong, we atomize." The first jump was gentle. There was the roar of overclocked capacitors, the violent bloom of white light, and then silence. The mall reassembled itself outside the windshield with a faint shudder, as if reality had hiccuped. Alara checked her watch. 3 minutes earlier. Iris laughed, a sound so full and alive that it momentarily banished the stale air of the plaza. It worked. They did not notice the condensation on the inside of the windshield, nor the faint, spidery frost that traced impossible geometries along the dashboard, shapes that seemed to intersect themselves at angles Euclid would have denied. The second jump was longer. 10 years forward, Hill Valley stood renewed, glass towers where the mall had been, drone traffic whispering overhead. But something was subtly wrong. The sky seemed a shade too violet at its zenith. The air hummed with a low vibration, like a choir of tuning forks pressed against the skull. People walked with purpose, yet their eyes were unfocused, as if listening to distant instructions. "Environmental shift," Alara whispered. "Minor atmospheric variance." Iris was staring at the digital billboard across the street. It flickered, not with advertisement, but with a lattice of symbols. Spirals folding into hypercubes, cubes unfolding into writhing, many-angled silhouettes. For a moment, Iris thought she saw something, looking back. They returned to their origin point quickly. Back at the mall, the car's interior felt colder. The stainless steel panels were damp, though no water had entered. The crystalline housing behind them throbbed faintly, like a heart uncertain of its rhythm. Alara frowned at her instruments. "There's residual energy in the flux capacitor," she said. "More than we expended. Like an echo?" "Yes," Alara said slowly. "An echo." The third jump fractured something. They aimed for a trivial destination, one day back. A proof of stability. The acceleration felt wrong. Instead of the smooth glide through luminous abstraction Alara had described in her papers, there was resistance, a dragging sensation, as if the car were forcing its way through thick, unseen brine. The windshield darkened, not black, but saturated with color beyond spectrum. Shapes pressed against the glass from outside, though there was no outside in transit. Vast, membranous forms brushing against the hull of the machine. Iris screamed. The shapes were not random. They were aware. One of them turned. No eyes, no face, only an orientation, a focusing of impossible dimensions upon the tiny screaming vehicle that had punctured its ocean. And something, thin as a filament and infinitely patient, slipped inside. They landed hard, The mall was intact. The tarp lay where Alara had dropped it, but the Twin Pines sign read Lone Pine. Alara's breath caught. "That's not right," she murmured. "We didn't go that far back." Iris clutched her arm. The sky, it churned slowly, clouds rotating counter to the Earth's spin. The air vibrated with that now familiar hum. From the crystalline housing came a faint tapping. Once, twice, a rhythm. Alara opened the rear compartment despite Iris's protest. The crystal was no longer inert and geometric. Within its lattice, shadows coiled, impossibly thin at one moment, monstrously vast at the next, as if perspective itself were diseased. "It's energy feedback," Alara insisted, though her voice trembled. "Quantum entanglement residue." The tapping grew louder, with each subsequent jump made now in desperation rather than curiosity. The world degraded. Buildings leaned at wrong angles, their windows reflecting skies that did not exist. People spoke sentences that ended before they began. Newspapers printed dates and symbols that matched the billboard lattice. In one future, Hill Valley was empty, its streets coated in a fine silvery dust that whispered when disturbed. In another, the town thrived, but its inhabitants' shadows stretched upward, not downward, tethered to something vast and pulsing in the firmament. The car changed too. Its stainless steel skin darkened to an oily sheen. The gull-wing doors resisted closing, as if the vehicle itself were breathing. The crystalline housing grew translucent, revealing a depth that exceeded its physical dimensions, a corridor spiraling inward beyond geometry. Alara finally understood. "It's using us," she said hoarsely. "Each jump is widening the aperture. We aren't traveling through time, we're drilling through it." Iris stared at the sky in their latest arrival. There were no stars. Instead, there were apertures, great circular wounds in the heavens through which something luminous and veined pressed downward. The tapping from the crystal became a pounding. The dashboard flickered with symbols not of Ilara's design. Coordinates she had never input scrolled across the screen. Destination, everywhere. When the final jump engaged, it did not require acceleration. There was no road, no fire trail, no surge to 88 miles per hour. The world simply peeled back. Time was not a river, but a membrane, and the DeLorean, corrupted and eager, tore it open like wet paper. Hill Valley folded into itself, streets twisting into spirals that descended into the crystalline core. Buildings stretched thin as threads and were drawn inward, the sky inverted. Beyond the rupture lay the ocean they had pierced that first night, a fourth-dimensional abyss populated by shapes too immense to comprehend, their surfaces etched with the same recursive sigils that had plagued every timeline. They had been disturbed, they had been patient, now they were curious. One descended, its form collapsing into 3 dimensions with catastrophic indifference. Gravity rebelled, sound liquefied. Iris reached for Alara's hand. "Can we go back?" she whispered. Alara looked at the console. There was no back. The machine was no longer a vehicle. It was a threshold, an altar, its flux capacitor, a pupil, dilating wide. The last thing Alara understood was that time had never been theirs to traverse. It was a seal, a skin stretched taut over something boundless, and they had punctured it, as Hill Valley and every version of it, past, present, potential, was drawn screaming into the aperture. The DeLorean remained suspended in the void like a silver insect caught in amber. Its doors slowly rose, inviting. Then, silence. The abandoned mall stood once more outside Hill Valley. Dust hung undisturbed in beams of afternoon light. Escalators rusted in peace. The Twin Pines sign creaked in a wind that did not quite move. In the far corner of the lot, a stainless steel car sat quietly, untouched, unmarked, waiting. A loose draft stirred through the broken skylight above. The canvas tarp, long ago cast aside, lifted gently into the air as though guided by unseen hands. It drifted downward in slow, patient descent and settled perfectly over the DeLorean. Beneath the tarp, something within the flux capacitor pulsed once, softly, hungrily, waiting for the next curious minds to pull the cover free. I hope you enjoyed my little cosmic horror Back to the Future story. I have been writing and rewriting it for a while. It actually started as a story about fast food cosmic horror and changed several times. Well, here we are. I apologize for not uploading anything lately. Real life and personal reasons. I won't get into details, and well, they aren't anyone's business but my own. But again, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.